Karrion Kross, who honestly, I think he's actually, I never was a big fan, but I think he's been delivering some of his best work in a long, on the main roster, at least over the last few months. I think he's been really good. He had the idea of implementing pretty much what would be a new version of the Hardcore Championship. In his mind, it would be called the Extreme Wrestling Championship. No holds barred, kind of just like an ECW match used to be, just no rules and stuff like that. I personally think it's a great idea. This is the perfect time to do it. Now that we're going to the Netflix era, maybe that's where it should be. We're seeing a little bit more blood. We're seeing a little bit more harsh language. They're not going to go back to Attitude Era, and nor do they need to, but they can lean a little bit towards that, and that's where they're going. I think that's why a hardcore type championship would be great. And is a far better idea than the 24/7 title. As fun as some of the 24/7 title stuff was, it got kind of redundant all the time. I got tired of seeing just random people running into matches. So I also want to talk about who do we feel would be a perfect set of 8 for a possible Extreme Wrestling Championship title. Obviously, Karrion Kross is going to be in, and I'm going to throw some names. I think Jacob Fatu would be a perfect example. The way his style is right now, the kind of wild, manic mayhem master that he is, I think that would make sense for him. He's another one. Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin, this is really his last shot. I actually like the team with him and Apollo Crews, but they can't make it work. I think he'd be a good fit there. I could see him totally work that kind of style and be good. He's underrated as a wrestler. Here's another one. Dominic Mysterio. What better way than this guy people hate to have this extreme title? Judgment Day continues to help him win. It's a singles title for him that he deserves because he's been fantastic, but you don't give him the IC title. You're using that on Braun Breaker, but maybe you give him this title. Grayson Waller, another kind of unexpected one. He'd be really interesting. Great talker, very talented, but maybe can use more of a prominent role. Kevin Owens, you can't go wrong. Kevin Owens, assuming he doesn't leave. There's rumors that his contract's ending. Please don't leave, Kevin. Please do go to AEW. That would be another perfect fit if he's interested. If he wants to go in another direction, help spearhead this new championship, and maybe that's something fresh. Now, here's talking about Spear. How about Sean Spears, the chairman? I mean, the guy's the chair. He brings the chair to the ring. If you plan to bring him to the main roster, that's another option. And of course, any member of the Wyatt Six makes sense. I would pick Dexter Lumis. What do you think? What do you think of those options in a potential tournament, or anybody else you feel that would be perfect for this possible Extreme Wrestling Championship?
I dig it, man. I'm with you. To your point, it's crazy to think that what was once a kind of a passe kind of mentality. It shows that wrestling is a full circle. Enough time has passed to where hardcore or extreme can kind of come back in this fashion. And there is a niche for it. There is a window of opportunity for that to come back and make some waves. It's been long enough to where people miss it, and it could be interesting. Not the 24/7 thing like you said. Just kind of extreme matches, no hold barred matches, some weapons involved, kind of like what Raven used to bring his shopping cart to the ring, that kind of stuff. Yep. You know what I mean? And it really could be great. And I love that Karrion Kross is starting to get rejuvenated. I was a fan of his in NXT, but myself, like a lot of people, understood that that's an act that's catered to NXT. On the main roster, it may have needed some retooling. There's a lot of that with NXT, and that's a discussion for another day. That there's some acts that are catered to the smaller market, but not so much for the larger. But I'm so glad that he's getting the chance to reinvent himself, and he really is leaning into this character, and it's been great to see. He'd be a great candidate for this. I love some of the candidates you ran off. I think Baron Corbin would be so much fun. He's the kind of person that would fit into this kind of mold. Kevin Owens is maybe the best brawler in the game today. He'd be great. And the Wyatt Six, absolutely. Factions are a big thing that could be addressed in this particular division. I think a group like Gallus that has been running around NXT, nobody really sees where they could fit in the main roster. They can fit with this. I think they'd be really great for something like this. Another name that I would love in this is Pete Dunne. I mean, Pete Dunne, low-key, has been like one of the MVPs of the last few weeks. He's been everywhere in NXT, on Raw, causing all kinds of ruckus. And, he's getting some shots at some big titles, which I would not sacrifice that to bring him here. But, with somebody like Pete Dunne, as good as he is, size may always be like a bit of a problem. And if that ends up being the case, this would be a nice way to showcase it, because he's that scrappy kind of brawler that can really make some great matches with some creative weapons and things like that. So I think names like that would be a great fit for this division. And as you mentioned, with them moving to Netflix, it's the perfect opportunity to kind of market it as a new edge to the product. Now that they don't have to cater to cable networks or censors or anything like that, they can kind of write their own ticket. And this would be a great way to showcase that without going overboard as they did in the past.
And I think what made wrestling great, and part of what made WCW rocket to the top, along with great storylines, but they had a diverse style of wrestling. They had the big boys that can do it. They had these mid-level guys that put a good match, and then they had the cruiserweights. Same thing with Impact, with TNA, like when they had the X Division, like having the different colors of the tapestry of wrestling. And this was be a new color. We have great wrestling. We have now the tag team division come up. We have the best women's division in professional wrestling history on either brand. Hardcore wrestling, like that's another interesting little color, and that you can use a lot of talent that maybe are kind of stuck, and they can go to that. And it's worth it. So please listen to Karrion Kross in this WWE. Please think about that. I think it'd be a fantastic idea.